So this one time, my wife, Kala, kicked me out of our house after she cheated on me with some dude from her work. I was devastated, but I couldn't believe she had the audacity to throw me out of my own home. To make matters worse, she had changed the locks and refused to let me in. I was furious and hurt, but I didn't know what to do. I went to stay with my friend for a few days, trying to process everything that had happened. I kept thinking about how I had always put Kayla first, and how she had betrayed my trust. I couldn't believe she would do this to me, especially after everything we had been through together. After a few days, I decided I couldn't take it anymore. I went back to the house and knocked on the door. Kayla answered, looking surprised to see me. I told her I wanted to talk to her, but she refused to let me in. I stood there for a moment, trying to think of what to do. Then, I remembered something important. I owned the house. I had bought it before I met Kayla, and it was in my name only. She had no legal right to kick me out. I told Kayla this, and she was furious. She started screaming at me, saying that I was heartless and that she couldn't believe I would do this to her. I tried to reason with her, but she wouldn't listen. In the end, I had no choice but to call the police. They came to the house and told Kayla that she had to let me in. She reluctantly opened the door, and I walked back into my own home. Kayla was furious. She packed her things and left, and I haven't seen her since. I'm still hurt by what she did, but I'm also glad that I stood up for myself. I realized that I deserve better than to be treated the way she treated me. I've since started seeing a therapist to help me deal with the emotional fallout from Kayla's betrayal. I'm also focusing on rebuilding my life and finding happiness again. It's not easy, but I'm determined to move on from this and create a better future for myself. Am I the asshole for kicking her out?
I just want to start off by saying I, 24F, love my baby sister more than anything in the world. I drive a 3-row car because it was able to fit her and my other siblings, 9F7M, and some of their friends. My fiance and I watch the kids after school every day, and they spend the night with us too, 4 days a week. My fiance is great with the kids, and they adore him. My fiance proposed 6 months ago, and when we told the kids, the older two were excited. But Evie, the 5-year-old, was furious. She started crying and hitting me because she wanted to marry him, and if I marry him, she can't. She refused to speak to me for almost a week, and now she's mostly okay. But she gets mad at me and starts crying and hitting me anytime she sees me kiss him. She was supposed to be our flower girl, but I really don't think she'll be able to sit through the wedding without some kind of outburst. So I called our dad, told him about all of this, and said that she won't be allowed to attend the wedding unless she starts seeing a therapist before the wedding. The wedding is in September, so he has a couple months to get her in therapy. He's saying she doesn't need therapy. She's just a 5-year-old with a crush on my fiance. I'm overreacting, and she won't forgive me if I exclude her from the wedding. AI Ada for banning her unless he gets her therapy. Edit. We have tried everything. We've talked about her behavior, her feelings, that what she's doing isn't acceptable, that my fiance will still be in her life, but nothing helped. She goes to timeout right when she starts hitting and kicking. She loses toys. She's left outings early. And my fiance refuses to play with her after because he doesn't play with anyone that hits. This is not normal 5-year-old behavior. There is nothing else we can do. We will not hit her. And to everyone saying her parents need to parent, how do you suggest I do that? They'll neglect the kids whether they have them full or part-time. 17M. Might be TA, and I might be a big one, but I wanted to get people's insight. So my dad left my mom when I was 14 to be with his wife, the woman he was cheating on my mom with. My dad didn't want me to think badly of him, but I did. He knew I did, and he knew he couldn't change my mind easily. We always knew my parents would end up with shared custody until I was 17 at least. From experience, the judges in family court will only stop enforcing shared custody when a kid turns 17 and speaks out. Any younger, and they insist on 50-50. I also knew mom would struggle on her own because while she did work, she never made as much as my dad. She also wouldn't get child support because of the 50-50ths, and it wasn't ordered even with the difference in income. So when dad pleaded with me to give him a chance to show he could still be a good dad, and he said he would do anything for me, I told him to keep supporting mom and make sure she wasn't going to end up struggling while he got off easy. I told him she deserved that at least, after what he did, and that I deserved to see my mom doing well. My dad agreed, and he paid it as child support instead of spousal support or whatever it's called. It really helped mom, and she actually went back to school so she could get a better job. Dad is still paying that money. He knows I appreciate him doing it, and he also knows it's one of the only reasons I didn't just decide to say fuck him and never want a relationship again. My mom is also less stressed. She has mixed feelings about my dad giving her money when legally he doesn't need to, but she also knows this is the only way for me not to feel the need to help support her. Where my dad's wife comes into it is this: she never liked that my dad paid this child support. She never liked that I insisted on it for my dad and I to have a relationship. But now my dad's house is struggling a bit and some changes needed to be made. His wife's son and daughter were in dance, football, softball, karate, music lessons, and an art class as paid extracurriculars. My dad and his wife also have a baby together. The wife's kids had to cut 2 activities because they can't afford it anymore. It pisses his wife off because if dad wasn't paying the money, they could still afford those things. She told me I should stop obligating my dad to support mom because they need it more, and my mom isn't their problem. I told her she and her kids are not my problem. She told me they're my family while mom is not her or her kids' family or my dad's anymore. I told her she and her kids are dad's family, but not mine. She told me they need all of dad's money right now before more things need to be cut back on. I shrugged in response. She told me I was so callously flippant and it wasn't a good look to care so little about my siblings' lives. Only one of her kids, the baby, is technically my half-sibling. My wife and I have been together since we were 19 and we're now 32. I met her family after we'd been together a year. Xiaoel was actually the first. Very first time we met, she blurted out that I have a girl's name, Sky, and then proceeded to laugh about it. My wife told her to shut up and stop laughing. It didn't bother me at all back then. I just laughed and told her there are plenty of male Skys around, even my great-grandfather, who I was partially named after. I was named after my great-grandpa Skylar, who went by Sky his entire life, and Sky Masterson from Guys and Dolls. So the first time was no big deal. Some people have asked me before if I felt like my name was a girl's name, and not a guy's name, and I never minded. Sael joked a lot about my name and our kids' names when we were expecting our babies. It got a little annoying, but, I was able to brush it off, and my wife would cut off her sister and would tell her to leave if she went a little too far, which only happened once back then. We didn't see her a lot for a while, but she got engaged last year and was around more and seemed to have calmed down a lot. And now she's having her own baby, a girl. And oh boy, is she really testing my patience. It started with her husband asking what she thought of the name Sky for their daughter. She joked that they couldn't use the name because she didn't want me to feel more like a girl than I already do. My wife told her to grow up and we left. Next time we saw her, they announced Sky was the name they decided to go with. I said, cool. CIL said she was surprised I was okay with sharing my name with the girl. I told Sil her daughter wouldn't be the first, and I wasn't insecure in my masculinity, and I saw no problem with sharing the same name, girls or women. Next time we saw them, it was a joke about putting both Skies in pretty pink dresses when her daughter is born. We stayed out of her way for the rest of that visit. Then she joked that I had finally gotten embarrassed by my name and was using my middle name because one of my uncles, who always called me by my middle name, was visiting and she heard him call me that. More stuff like that happened, and then Saturday, we were back at my IL's house for MIL's birthday, and Sil was joking with some of MIL's siblings about my name, and she tried to involve me by calling me over to tell her dumb jokes. It finally got to me, and I asked her, does she have to be so annoying? I told her how tiring it is to always hear her dumb jokes, which aren't even really jokes like she claims, but insults directed at me. She called me sensitive, and I told her she's the person who hasn't given up on my name in over a decade. I told her everyone gets it. She sees Sky as a girl's name, but she's not funny. CIL got mad. My wife told her she was about to become a mom and really needed to listen to us and grow up. We have told her to stop saying this shit in the past, too. She always says she's just joking,